Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away?
I
Good
never
morning.
realized how annoying that damn song actually is.
That was your idea.
I know it. It's cool when they're all walking into the bar at different times, but just to hear the song by itself, I'm like, God damn, that sucks.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Early Watch Morning Gun Show. I'm your host, Ed Horst, and I have my co-host, Tony, with us. What's up, Tony?
It's Friday, and nothing else is up.
Not a
Good morning,
creature was a
everybody.
stirring, not even a mouse.
Oh, I can't say that because the old lady's up and gone before I got out of bed.
Oh,
But she left her bank card here, so woohoo, free money.
yeah, there you go. See, here we got Gun Loving Grandpa already out there joining us. Good morning, Gun Loving Grandpa. How are you today, sir? Links are posted over on Gun Channels. This is a free for all Friday, so I post the links out there on Gun Channels. Anyone's able to go over to Gun Channels, grab a link, hop in here with us. Today we will be discussing the 350 Legend and maybe a couple other newer calibers. And before we get into any 2A news, gee. Well, I guess let's give it a couple minutes before we start talking the calibers to get some people to tune in.
I'm also a gun loving grandpa, so hey, if you want to come on in here, feel free.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We would love to have you.
I love guns and hate stupid.
Yeah. Sounds like my grandpa. Oh, man. So I'm just going to put this feeler out there while we're waiting for anyone. So anyone that might be listening or whatnot, or maybe even Tony might know. I know Vanessa M. Kitty out there is usually on pretty early to watch our stuff. So hopefully maybe she's listening. So I read a post that says pretty much, let's see here, I'll find the exact post. This is on the VA, this is on American Military News under the title Congress, VA police body slammed veterans, killing some of them. This is something I have not heard about before. I can't find any info. Not sure if it just happened. I'm not sure if they're talking about something that happened 20 years ago. But I just saw a post with that. So anyone that is familiar with maybe VA's Virginia, right? Is that Virginia? Yeah, it's
I
got
don't
to be
know if
Virginia.
I don't know if it's Virginia or the actual Veterans Administration on ground security.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense. So, no, that's totally, yeah. That could be the on-ground hospital security, but police body slammed veterans, killing some of them. So I'm taking it that people having a mental breakdown or issues, but if whatever this leads to, I mean, just the title is shocking enough, but maybe some people can enlighten us out there on that.
Yes, because I'm sure that I'm going to say something that's going to turn out to be wrong or taken wrong.
Got Adam Folk out there tuning in. Adam, there are links over on Gun Channels if you would like to hop in for Free for All Friday. I see John Z out there in the lobby. Maybe
Well,
John Z.
don't give John a link.
Anyone but him. Made in New York City.
Yeah, exactly. Unless he's carrying his block.
Is blocked. I think he always carries that. He uses that as like a club. Makes a good little like fist pack, I think.
Oh, jeez, I guess. Also be a convenient hammer.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you seen the thing?
I have.
I have. I've actually held it.
It's solid steel, right? Not aluminum.
Yeah, it's a solid block of steel
Yeah.
or iron.
I
And with a
definitely could
couple of files and a little bit of time, he could file her into a 1911 or something. It might
yeah.
take a millennia, but
I was gonna say it might take him 100 years. It'll be the 2111 then instead of the 1911. It'll be the 2111.
on this VA thing, if it's police on the street, regular police officers, and I'm saying this without knowing a damn thing about the situation, but they have to end the dangerous situation the fastest possible way if they can. Not that I'm backing them hurting people or anything like that, but the fact that somebody's a vet probably wouldn't be germane to the situation at that time. So, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, you are exactly right. It was veteran police.
Okay, so it's VA police, that's a different matter.
Yeah, so veterans have been body slammed to the ground and some have died from injuries sustained by excessive force encounters with Department of Veterans Affairs police, according to a recent congressional testimony. The House Committee on Veterans Affairs held a public hearing on Tuesday, which new details were shared on the troubling encounters between veterans and VA police. The USA Today reported on Tuesday. Democratic Representative Kathleen Rice said one of her New York constituents, a veteran with post-traumatic stress disorder, sought therapy at a VA hospital following spinal surgery, but he became frustrated with incorrect referrals after several negative experiences where he wasn't being treated. VA police were eventually called and they responded with excessive force. He was literally body slammed onto the ground with his arms twisted behind his back, Rice said. This is someone who was post-spinal surgery. He informed them of that. I can't breathe. I just had spinal surgery. The excessive force incident took place back in June 2018, a year ago. The VA hospital said the veteran, Gene Telford, could no longer receive therapy from a civilian doctor. They referred Telford to another facility which ultimately did not offer therapy. Then Telford was referred to the VA hospital in Northport, New York, where the incident occurred after he grew frustrated with the runaround process. Police cuffed Telford and held him to the ground. A physical therapist who treated Telford attested that he was not a threat, but police didn't move. Telford later had to appear in federal court for charges brought against him, now deferred. It was later revealed that a VA worker had input fraudulent information into his file. Telford's experience isn't an isolated incident. This incident keeps going on and on and on, Rice said. The questions that I have are many. One veteran ended up dead after an encounter with VA police. The 65-year-old veteran attempted to leave a VA hospital in 2011 after waiting hours for a procedure, but VA police would not allow it. They pretty much took him, slammed him to the ground, hit his head, and he ended up dying, said Democratic Representative Gilbert Cisneros, a vocal critic of the VA police. Another identical incident at a Missouri VA hospital in May 2018 resulted in another veteran's death. I mean, really, what are they doing over there? Cisneros asked. Why are we having these issues where individuals are being injured or hurt or killed? One investigation that concluded in December 2018 attributed the incident to management failures and staffing shortages. The agency employs approximately 4,000 police officers. VA officials said at the hearing that they have appointed new security management and police supervisors as a means of improving management, along with improvements in officer training. Wow.
Well, the VA police should have specialized training because of the dealing with the soldiers and the stuff that comes with that. But to be honest with you, every American should be outraged at what the fucking VA does and what it doesn't do for our returning soldiers. We owe them everything. They should be able to go anywhere and get medical treatment free. Period. These people volunteered to go overseas, stand in front of bullets for our freedom. We owe them.
I will agree 100% to that. We do owe them. That's the very least we could do, is let them pick their own damn doctors and where they want to get treated themselves with a doctor they like and feel comfortable with, and not have to travel hours to a VA hospital and wait hours to, for it to actually be seen. And I agree wholeheartedly 100%. We as taxpayers, that's the least we could do, is foot that bill. I mean, really. I mean, I don't mind. You want to increase my taxes a couple pennies in order for these guys to get great health care and do it across the board to everyone? I really don't know anyone that's like, oh, you know what? When you're talking about the whole country, it's really just going to be pennies a person to upgrade these guys to premium health care. They should be seeing the best doctors in the country, having the best of everything in the country. I'm glad to foot that bill.
And the thing of it is there's probably so much freaking waste in the VA that the money's already there.
Oh yeah, I can't even imagine. They hire 4,000 police officers. I can't even imagine how many of. I've heard reports about crummy doctors and stuff like that there before.
We've had a little bit of issues here with conditions at the VA. One of the VA retirement facilities, nursing homes basically, had Legionnaires in it. And of course, the political aspect of that is they debate it until like a dozen people die and then point fingers at each other because nothing was done because they were too busy debating it before. And it makes me friggin' sick to think of how the soldiers are treated when they get back here.
Well, luckily today we have some things like cell phones and cameras and stuff, and there's security cameras in every hallway and every room and stuff in these places now. And a lot of stuff is leaked out. I can't even imagine what it would have been like in the 90s or 80s or 70s or 60s before we were able to actually catch proof of these things. But just some of the recent videos I've seen on YouTube and stuff of where these soldiers have taken it upon themselves to record with their cell phones their own mistreatment and the way these people talk down to them and act towards them. I've only seen a handful of videos, but that was enough to tell me that there's a big problem going on, and it's just disgusting. It really is. And it's really not being addressed. It's just kind of thrown to the curb, and everything else, I guess, is more important.
I absolutely do not understand how it got there neither. There's talking points on it every once in a while, and nothing gets done. And it should not be that way for our returning vets. Period. I don't give a shit if you're pro or anti-military or whatever. These guys are defending this damn country. For fuck's sake, they deserve all the care they can get.
A lot of these guys lose their youth. They lose a lot of their early part of their lives for this country, time that they'll never get back. they lose a lot more than that when they get wounded or hurt or suffer the PTSD or whatnot. They I mean they give a lot more than just their lives. I mean it's just
And
it's
the average person in this country has no idea what these guys have to go through. I mean during service, the things that they see and do, uh, probably defies description pretty much. And they deserve the best care they can get when they get back here. Better than senators or presidents or any other friggin' politicians. They should come first.
I guarantee you that yeah, when a senator or a congressman or a president or a vice president or any chief of staff, I guarantee you when any of these people want medical treatment, I mean it's a no issue. They have insurance that's paid for, medical care that's paid for by the taxpayer, and I'm sure these guys aren't standing in line at a hospital like the VA waiting 8 hours to be seen. I'm sure these guys have elite doctors and they're seen on time and they're treated with, dignity and respect. And so you have on one hand you have people who sit in chairs and talk to each other, and then you have people who put boots on the ground and are getting stuff done. And just the lack of mutual respect between that is just unbelievable. How they can treat one set of people one way, a set of people they know have money, and then the other set in just such a disgusting manner. I don't know if you guys have watched some of the videos, but I mean they're really sickening. It's absolutely sickening to the point like, whoa, this is really really bad. I wouldn't even take my dog to a place that treated them like this.
I don't know, man. It's just I think throughout our entire history, we've not been very good with our veterans. But we should be well beyond that now. And I absolutely don't get why we're not. Hey, David.
Hey, David. Howdy, sir.
Good morning, guys. How is everybody today?
Well, I was good until this conversation started.
I could definitely win Midnight Range's weekly prize on this topic alone. I'm not going to do that though. The masses, the mob cares more about Mick Jagger's heart attack and where he's going to have his operation at than they do about PFC John Q. Public, who lost a leg in Iraq or Afghanistan or Korea or anywhere else. And it's just absolutely disgusting to me the way that the United States, I don't care what other countries say, that doesn't matter. But what the United States citizens, the way that we fake, and I send me hate mail all you want, I don't care, it's fake. We support the troops. No, you don't. Stop lying. That's a lie. You don't support the troops. And it's really disgusting to me throughout all of our history how we've treated our vets. And I worked for a medical supply company for a while, and I had to go to all the hospitals in Maryland, D.C., Virginia. So that means all the VAs. And I've got a lot of flack for saying this before, but every VA hospital I've been in Maryland, D.C., or Virginia was an absolute dump. It was a dump. And I say that because I care about the men and women on the inside, not because I'm, flying my flag upside down and I hate this country. I say it because I love this country. Walter Reed was a shame. If you'd ever had a chance to be in Walter Reed, and this is just from an outside perspective, I'm not a soldier, never been in the military, never been affiliated with the military in any way. But when I walked into Walter Reed and saw the condition that place was in, I was disgusted.
I agree 100%. You're spot on. I've heard similar things from similar people that will even pay money out of their own pocket, and when they're already on limited income, just to still see a personal doctor over going to the VA. So, and that's a very common thing. I've heard that stated more than once from more than one person.
My phone keeps ringing. I gotta hop out and take a call. I'll be right back.
All right.
Yes, sir.
I really,
So I was gonna
really,
say,
go ahead.
I didn't know if we wanted to go to change the topic there or not. If you have something else to say, please do, Tony.
Just that repeating what I'd said before about our veterans deserve the best of care, not the worst.
Yep, they sure do. And anything I guess you can do to be vocal in this support. I'm not sure what to do, other than maybe let them know that, hey, we're not afraid to let our tax money go to this place, or we're not afraid to elect officials that are willing to get something done, and make that one of the major voting topics and major stances that these politicians should be taking in 2020. Because I'll tell you what, I'm much more likely to vote for someone that's sees a problem with this and is willing to try to do something about it, than someone who doesn't even want to talk about it and not even want to make it an issue.
I always kind of figured the VA was dealing with situations that were more prone to military personnel than the civilians. But it turns out that they're just not doing near enough. And I'm not blaming the VA solely on that. I mean, they answer to somebody. And I don't know. I get so pissed off I can't hardly articulate how pissed I am.
If we're still talking about the veterans, I think everybody should be pissed off. Like everybody. There's no excuse from the oldest to the youngest. The way our military men and women are treated, especially the ones that come home from combat, everybody should be pissed off.
Yes, they should.
They definitely can be doing something different and be doing something better and working to bettering themselves. And I've heard complaints about the VA going as far back as the 60s. I'm not sure how it was before then, but I know a lot of the issues started in Vietnam, or maybe became apparent after Vietnam. But I know that's just been a long-standing issue. I mean, how long can we let this go on? Oh, it's already 50 years. How much longer? We're just going to let it go on 50 more? I mean, come on. Something needs to be done. And all I can say is, if you hear a politician that's making that one of their running points and running stances, that they actually want to effect change in this system, I would much more likely be willing to vote for someone like that than someone who just is willing to sweep it under the rug and not even talk about it. So I think this is another place that we can encourage politicians to make that one of their running stances, and to try and affect change. And if they're not willing to do that, then we're not going to vote for them.
Just to lighten things up a little bit, here's a cute little puppy dog that I get to work with today. Hey,
I was
Bobby.
going to ask where you got the 10th of a dog at.
Hi, Bobby. This is a party Yorkie or something like that. I've never seen a Yorkie with white fur, and he loves his ball. He loves to play catch with his ball. I figured
That is a cute puppy.
That could just lighten the mood a little bit.
Yeah, thank you.
Good.
We always have time to watch doggies and give them a belly rub. All right, so I guess let's get into it. 350 Legend. So Tony wanted to talk about 350 Legend. Tony, did you see any of the stuff that Military Arms Channel just happened to post about the 350 Legend yesterday?
Probably not.
Oh, okay, because it was just kind of a coincidence there that we were planning on talking about this, and I came across some military arms post that he made yesterday about the 350 Legend. So we'll have some insight from him also. What's that?
Think maybe he listens to the show.
I doubt that. I highly doubt that. But if he did, that would be awesome. But I highly doubt that. I think he's been experimenting with the 350 Legend and probably has some videos or going to have some videos about it. But I definitely saw his post on social media yesterday, so I just thought it was kind of ironic. But the 350 Legend is picking up ground. You know, it's Ruger American has a bolt action chambered in it now, and you know, there's ARs chambered in it, so it's definitely gaining ground and going somewhere. People are definitely looking at it. What the 350 Legend reminds me of is the 450 Bushmaster, just in a 9mm type caliber. That's you know, a slightly smaller projectile, but the whole purpose of this really seems to be similar to why they have the 450 Bushmaster, a straight walled case for hunting and stuff like that. That's legal in states where you can only hunt with straight walled cases and stuff like that, but not everyone wants to be hunting with a 450 Bushmaster or needs the power of a 450 Bushmaster based on what game they're hunting. I know the small little white-tailed deer around here sure don't need no 450 Bushmaster to take one down. And a 350 Legend's going to be a lighter gun, a lighter round, less recoil, probably easier to shoot. And you know, that's what the 350 Legend this reminds me of, is just a smaller diameter 450 Bushmaster.
Well, they say it has less recoil than 243 or 30-30.
And that's impressive, because the 243 and 30-30 is what I will tell people, like, oh, you might want to, like, oh, your wife wants to get a deer rifle, look at the 243. That's probably one of the most common calibers I'll recommend for youth or kids hunting, or for women. Small stature.
The 243 is my boss's favorite hunting round.
From what I've seen, and I've seen, I think, 6 different deer kill videos with it. And 4 of the 6, the deer dropped where they stood, and the other 2, they went about maybe 20 yards and dropped. This thing looks like a hammer.
It does. I've seen those same videos. We watched them a while back, a couple, and even on some hog hunting videos, they seem to drop. It seems to drop stuff like a rock. It does.
From what I can tell, basically it's like 357 Super Magnum, only it's not rimmed. It's like 1 3/4 inch long case, straight wall. And I think they even use some of the bullets for the handgun. Maybe
well,
not.
Well, here's the thing. So this is what Military Arms said is, so in his state of Indiana, I can't find any other state where it affects it like it does Indiana, but Indiana has a law that requires a .357 diameter bullet to be used in a straight walled case on public lands. So if you're going to go hunting in Indiana, minimum caliber is 357 in a straight walled case. So measuring the 350 Legends bullets, they measure at .3545 on average. Or where a 9mm measures at basically .355. So it's basically, you know, that would be 500 thousandths shy of no, 5 thousandths, yeah, like 5 thousandths shy of a 9mm, but it doesn't meet that .357 criteria to be legal in Indiana. It's short by 2 thousandths of an inch. So that's where Mac was coming from on his posts on social media, is he actually took Safe and did a casting of his chamber or of his bore, and he was measuring the actual projectiles of the different types of bullets, and all of them were under 357 caliber. You know, and granted, it's just 2 thousandths of an inch, which is just nothing, but it's still under. So technically, it's still not legal in Indiana. And I can't find another state where it's that caliber, 357 particularly. Not that there's not one out there, but but at the very minimum, it's at least affecting people in Indiana because they won't be able to use this.
I suppose that can be changed. I mean,
Well, that can be changed. That's not even necessarily a law. You got to go to Congress. Like that can be changed in the Division of Wildlife, or at least that's how it was changed here. Is DNR that we enacted a change where it used to be you had to have 25 caliber or larger to hunt, and then they changed it to 22 caliber centerfire or larger. So, I mean, so we enacted that change a few years back here, and that was an easy enough change. We basically just pointed out, hey, there's modern calibers out here that are humane and completely capable of doing the job, and that just the wording of the law prevents us from using these calibers. And we know that you guys don't want us using rimfires, so let's just change the wording on the law. And basically, all centerfire calibers here now that are 22 caliber or above, you can hunt with.
yeah, they could drop it to like 350. You know, because there's not really any guns chambered less than 357. You know, until you drop down to 338.
The 350 Legend is kind of like just like a 9mm on steroids. It's for all intents and purposes the projectiles are similar to 9mm, just a little bit longer and just a lot longer straight walled case with a with a lot more powder and oomph behind it. Let's see here, like so on average velocities, we're talking 145, 150, 160 grain projectiles in the 22 to 2300 feet per second area at the muzzle. They have a 180 grain projectile that's 2100 feet per second, and then they have a super suppressed projectile, 265 grains at 1060 feet per second. And then the foot-pounds of energy numbers, you're looking at about 17 to 1800 foot-pounds for the lighter projectiles. And then for the super heavy subsonic projectile, you're looking at about 700 foot-pounds of energy. So somewhere between 700 foot-pounds and 1800 foot-pounds, depending on the weight of the projectile. But it's capable of, that's a lot more than a 44 mag. It's capable of a tremendous amount of muzzle energy.
Yeah, and here in Illinois, that shit matters because we have a minimum of 500. You can't hunt deer with anything that doesn't have at least 500 foot-pounds of muzzle energy, which effectively eliminates 45 ACP and pretty much anything that don't have Magnum on the end of it. 45 Colt won't go there. I mean, you could with the Ruger, but that really, it has to be something that there's factory ammo available for that's rated at that kind of muzzle energy or more.
Well, they also claim, like you mentioned, Tony, that it has less recoil than a 243. They also claim 20% more penetration than a 243. So that's gonna really help out with any kind of shoulder shot or bones.
Well, if all this information is accurate, this is a really impressive setup.
One of the things that surprised me is with some of these projectiles, even like the 180 grain or 150 grain projectiles, that if with 100-yard zero, you have about a 7-inch drop at 200, and then about a 28 to 30-inch drop at 300. So trajectory wise, it doesn't drop like a rock like some of the 450 Bushmaster does. It seems to have a pretty flat trajectory for what it is.
Yeah, the specs on this are as appealing to me as they were for the 2545 Sharps. The performance of either of these seems to be more than it's capable of what they are. I don't get how they do it.
Russ. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us. Maybe Russ knows some stuff about the 350 Legend.
Yeah, it's the fastest straight wall cartridge that has ever been factory produced. It hits harder than a 30-30. It penetrates better than a 243. It is basically an old Wildcat we've been doing for years in Thompson Center pistols. But they're finally, someone decided to use it for an AR and use it for hunting. But it's an old silhouette cartridge. It really is. We've been doing it for years.
And I'm surprised that with it being so close to 9mm, they just didn't use 9mm projectiles. They just didn't make it so not you could use 9mm projectiles, standard 9mm projectiles, and it's just so close within that's really, I guess, 5 millionths of an inch. That's just, I mean, I can't even imagine. On why they would just why would they make it so close to 9mm and just under 357 and not use one of those common projectiles? Of course, have new longer projectiles and stuff like that, but for reloaders and stuff, I mean, I think it would be a lot more tempting if it was like, oh, you can basically stick any 9mm projectile in this, or you could stick any 357 Magnum projectile in this. That would make it even more appealing to me.
When I first looked at it, I swear they said that you could use 357 projectiles.
You can use 357 down to 355 depending on your barrel. It's up to your gun, But I believe all the barrels that are going to be produced are going to be 355, 3.5. So you can use 357 in it.
And it's slow enough that it'll take straight lead without, too much. It may have to have what the hell do they call that freaking copper thing on the back?
Well, on Military Arms Channel, Macca put out on his post yesterday, and again, this is with just a Ruger American as an example, but he's saying that on his Ruger American that he was actually measuring the factory ammo, the projectiles at factory ammo, and yeah, they are definitely smaller than 357 projectiles. They are definitely a hair larger than 9mm projectiles. It was right in between those, and he did do a Serosafe mold of the actual bore of that Ruger American, and he makes some good points here that why he doesn't feel 357 would work projectiles and 9mm projectiles might not work. But again, that was just this one gun. But that info's over there on his Instagram, and I'm sure he either already has a video out about it or is going to be coming out with a video about it. But he does show that, and he shows comparisons between 9mm 357 bores and then the 350 Legend.
I got a question about calibers for hunting. I understand the limitations on a smaller caliber because you don't want to take the chance of wounding an animal and not getting a kill shot in. But why is there limitations on the larger size ammos? Like why can't you hunt a deer with a 50 BMG? Because wouldn't a shot from a 50 BMG take a deer down pretty simple?
You could hunt with anything here that you can get in a handgun. So 500 Smith & Wesson is fine. People don't because of the damage it does to tissue.
Well, that and the law is for pass-throughs. They don't want you to miss and hit somebody 3 miles away or pass through an animal and hit somebody, on the other side of the woods. So they limit you to pistol rounds because they're relatively slow.
Okay, I kind of thought
And that's where the straight wall case thing comes from, I think.
Yeah, I kind of thought that would have been the logic behind it, is what happens when the bullet exits the deer or whatever game you're shooting at. So thanks, guys.
Look, we don't
Yeah.
have any straight wall restrictions here, so I've never had to deal with that personally.
Yeah, it's mainly places that are heavily wooded, and they have a very dense population of hunters. They were having a lot of problems with people getting shot by 30-06s, so they went down to straight wall cartridges. Of course, it really hasn't helped because normally the people who get shot is because there's an inexperienced hunter who sees something move and shoot at it. So it still didn't help.
You're the guy walking around in a pair of Carhartts with white hanky in his back pocket.
This may be a question you guys want to save for tomorrow's reloading chat, but the difference between a neck down and a straight wall cartridge. I kind of get the basic idea of the straight wall cartridge is going to move a little slower, but maybe that's something you guys could throw in when you do your section reloading for dummies.
Well,
I bet
straight
Russ could
wall
answer that, right? Oh, go ahead, Tony.
is generally handgun rounds. The 45-70 straight wall, but by and large, the guns you're allowed to use today are handgun cartridge rounds, like 44 Magnum,
357 Magnum and so
357
on.
Magnum, 40 or 40, not 40. You can't use 40 here.
10 millimeter, maybe?
41, 10 millimeter, but it has to be a single shot of revolver because you can't use semi-auto. I'm sure 10's got enough energy.
Yeah, they make Smith & Wesson makes a mountain gun in 10 millimeter, and I believe Ruger made a Red Hawk in 10 millimeter for a while.
So-
they want the minimum effective power, I suppose. So a larger projectile going a lot slower.
Well, some of these big bore 4570 BFR type revolvers and stuff, they are mainly for hunting. A lot of people are like, "Oh my gosh, why would you ever want that?" But it's really just they're kind of at least maybe projected as being used for hunting, right?
Yeah, they're for animals with stand up 7 feet tall with great big teeth and claws that want to eat you.
Yeah, I have quite a few BFR rifles or handguns, and I have them for fun. But yeah, a 4570 revolver is designed to hit things up close and personal that might be trying to harm you.
Like dangerous African safari animals or Kodiak bears, stuff like that, right?
Yeah, and you can carry a giant chunk of lead that's capable of penetrating bone and very, very tough skin and muscle.
Pissed off squirrel.
One thing I like about the 350 Legend is that it seems like Winchester's putting a lot of support behind it about the different types of projectiles. They have a polymer tipped, ballistic tipped projectile. They have a PowerPoint, which is just like basically a semi-jacketed projectile. They have one called the USA, which it looks just like it's a truncated cone. The Super Suppressed is just a super big hollow point, it looks like. And then they have a Power Max bonded projectile that's supposed to like maximum expansion. So they definitely have a wider range of projectiles for it from the factory, in fact, that you can get in factory ammo. And the 350 Legend I've seen is all Winchester, Olin Winchester branded factory ammo. I'm curious. I'm curious if Federal or anyone's also picked it up yet. Have started to make stuff for it.
I really haven't looked. I would think that if more than one or two manufacturers turn out guns in it, that they would be, or if not, will be soon.
Okay, I have a thing here that Federal's going to be making 350 Legend ammo coming to a store near you soon. So I don't know if it's out yet, but looks like they're going to have at least fusion ammo and power shock, and then maybe some vital shock. So it looks like Projectile Federal's going to be putting out several different types of 350 Legend. So maybe this will get some support behind it. I mean, that's been the case with some of these other calibers, is that one company will start making it, and then the other companies just go, none of them pick it up, and then that's where they kind of go wayside. They just don't get factory support from that whole community of ammunition makers.
Well, I gotta say, at first glance, which is about all I've done, this is extremely attractive looking cartridge for what it's made for.
And definitely, and if you live in one of those straight-walled hunting restricted states, or maybe you even have a small statue wife or kid, it definitely might be something to look at, especially since Federal seems to be jumping on board. To me, that's a really good sign. If Federal's going to be making ammo for it, and it's not just a Winchester specific thing, that seems like a really, really good sign to me.
I'm interested in it just for the projectiles. I mean, I don't think I would ever build an AR or anything like that with it, but I would probably do a Thompson Center pistol, or just use the projectiles in 357 maximum cases. But I'm kind of excited about that. So.
I was really enamored with the 2545 Sharps. All the data I seen on that looked really good too, but it didn't work out as well as people hoped.
I don't think that was the caliber fault. It's that they had so many damn bolt issues, and then they would say that, oh, okay, the new bolts are good to go, and then they had the same issues, and then so they at least had 2 different periods where they had bolt problems, and I'm not sure if they got it completely straightened out the 3rd time around, but I think that's what really hampered the 2545 is people just they saw these videos and they saw so many people saying like, oh hey, I'm 200 rounds into my 2545 AR and the bolt broke, and that was like a common thing. I think that's what really shied people away from the cartridge, not because of what the cartridges was capable of, just they were worried about getting a gun that could actually work.
Yeah, and the fact that what kind of pressures are they creating to break them bolts?
Well, it wasn't taking a whole lot of pressure because they had taken so much off the bolt face. It's already a thin bolt to begin with, and then when you remove all that material for the the larger case, it doesn't take a whole lot to break them. 7.62 by 39 ARs break them every day. A lot of the companies just didn't get the tooling down correctly, didn't get the hardening down correctly, and it bit them in the butt.
Well, it shouldn't have taken any other bolt that a 223 takes because it's based on that case.
Well, it did have a smaller rim diameter than like a 7.62 by 39, and 7.62 by 39s have a common thing about breaking bolts in ARs, and that's just an issue with them. That's just the nature of the beast. But I was hopeful for the Sharps because it has a 2 millimeter less. I think the base of it, the rim base is about 9 millimeters, and on a 7.62 by 39, it's like 11 millimeters. So it has 2 millimeters, so that's going to be 1 millimeter all the way around the circumference of that bolt, extra material there. So I was thinking that it's going to be more steadfast than that, but I think I think one of the main things with that is just a heat treat issue. I think that they had heat treating issues on their bolts, and so they just had weak spots in those bolts, and they just didn't have their heat treat perfected on that Sharps bolt. because I think Sharps was the only one who was really making. I'm not sure if they were the only one, but they were definitely the main one who were making bolts for that. And so if you wanted to have a gun in 25-45, you were buying a Sharps bolt to go with it. And since like they were really the only or main company doing that, I think that's what shied people off because of all those issues. If another reputable company would have stepped up and started making bolts that were heat treated properly for that, I think the 25-45 would be much more talked about today.
Oh, I thought it was just a blown out 223 case they started with. I didn't realize that it was different.
Well, I think it is just a blown out 223 case. I'm pretty sure it has the same rim diameter and everything as a 223. Just with the 25 caliber projectile stuffed into it. Much how like a 300 Blackout is, you know, the same case, based on the same case, just shortened and everything. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's right around 9 millimeters in the 25-45 for the base diameter, for the rim diameter. And so that's why, you know, I didn't see it was going to be an issue with that.
I didn't either.
That's how I don't understand how they were breaking them unless it was a metallurgy problem, heat treating problem, or they were screwing up the temper on the metal, the machining. Something happened. Something had to happen because the base of that brass isn't getting a ton of pressure with that case, and for it to be blowing out the heads like that, the bolts, it's just kind of odd. I'm not sure if they did a canted extractor on it where it was canted off to the bottom to help the fatter bullet load into the barrel extension easier or what, but it seems a little weird.
Well, I think that just everyone was just buying a complete upper, and the uppers that were available were the ones from Sharp, so they were coming with those Sharp bolts, and they had the term reliable, remember? And the lugs of the bolt were the front lugs of the bolt, instead of being flat and square, they were surfaced back, if you remember how they looked. And so it was definitely a different looking bolt head, but and the lugs weren't near as thick just because they had that initial slant to the front of the bolt face or to the front of the bolt lugs. And but I think everyone who were having the issues, they didn't build their own gun, they didn't source a 25-45 barrel and then use someone else's bolt. They were just buying complete uppers, and and that's where the issue came from, because they were buying complete uppers, and all those complete uppers when that first came out, they were all Sharps uppers. They were with the Reliable and stuff. That's what they called it, the Reliable 2, I believe. And then and both of those had issues, and I think they went to the third iteration, and I never heard any bad stuff about the third iteration. But I don't know if that's just because people gave up on it or if they finally fixed it. I haven't heard about that yet.
Oh, it's a shame that they ran into that particular problem because it really looked good.
Well, and we've had similar things with 22 Nosler is an awesome round that got kind of a bad rap just because of some brass issues. They had some brass issues there for a while, and it turned some people off. Not anything dangerous or anything, but just a lot of like extractor swipe on the cases and stuff like that. Just some really minor things, but a lot of people got steered away from that 22 Nosler. But man, performance-wise, out of all the different alternative AR calibers I have in my safes, that 22 Nosler, that's the one to beat. I mean, that thing is just, that caliber is a laser beam, and it's just ballistically superior to a lot of other AR calibers that are out there right now. And they eventually got their act together. Nosler figured out their brass issues, and so now everything's pretty much, straightened out. You might have to do a little work to your extractor on some guns, but other than that, I mean, 22 Nosler got a pretty bad rap there for a while, and it still haunts it, because people are like, oh, 22 Nosler, this looks really good on paper. And then they go to a forum and they just hear about all these brass issues, and and don't realize that it's necessarily figured out now. But it haunts them for a while. And I've seen a lot of companies do this, with whether it be the 6.8 SPC, the 224 Valkyrie, the 6.5 Grendel, the 22 Nosler, is that they put out a new caliber, and not necessarily all the R&D's done on it, and they're using the end consumer and these guys who are really into reloading, guys like Russ, and these are the guys who really figure out how to make the damn thing work. And that's why we have all these Type 2s chambers and the second iterations, because it's the guys out there in the reloading world, they're ones that are actually doing the hard work and the leg work and actually figure it out, and then say, oh no, you need this barrel twist rate, you need this, you need that, and then the companies come back, see what they're doing, and fix it.
Well, I don't know. Without people doing that sort of thing, we may not have ended up with 44 Magnum. Sometimes you got to break some guns to get the job done.
Elmer Keith might agree with that.
I don't know if he'd agree with it or not, but he was certainly a prime example of doing that very thing.
Or Bill Jordan, or any of those guys, I think, yeah, would
Peter
agree.
Skelton.
Hey, Patriot, thank you for joining, sir.
Well, thanks for the invite, and happy Flag Day to you all.
Yes.
Yes, we were actually going to get into that. Today was Flag Day.
It's also my maternal grandfather's birthday. So the way I can remember it's because he had birthday on Flag Day. Everybody out there, treat your flag with respect.
Yes, and today it's finally sunny. Yesterday it rained all day, and I was worried, but it's actually clear today. So
Start building an ark.
no, I just we're supposed to have my lawn service comes on Thursday too, so they're gonna come maybe today. I don't know. They always seem to be really too busy. But
Not only that, today is not only Flag Day, but it's also National Flag Week. So a lot of people don't know that there's actually a whole week dedicated to this. Not just the day, National Flag Week.
and
So
if
what do you
you're-
guys know about Flag Day?
It's June 14th.
Do you know how long
And it's-
Flag Day's been around?
No, actually, I don't.
It's been around as long as I can remember.
So 1861, coming out of Kansas, was the first suggestion of a Flag Day. And then 1885, working as a grade school teacher in Wisconsin, Bernard Sigrand held the first recognized formal observance of Flag Day at the Stony Hill School in 1885.
Yep, it's to honor the oldest flag that's still flying, I believe.
Is it really that old? Wow.
Our flag, yeah, because everybody else, all the Europeans and the kings and stuff, they switch it anytime they change a king and all that stuff. They got to put their own garbage on there, and our flag hasn't. For the most part, I mean, obviously we added states and stripes and stuff, but it's still the same flag.
In 1916, President Woodrow Wilson issued a proclamation that officially established June 14th as Flag Day. On August 3rd, 1949, National Flag Day was established by an act of Congress. Flag Day is not an official federal holiday. But, however, it is at the President's discretion to officially proclaim the observance on June 14th. On June 14th, 1937, Pennsylvania became the first U.S. state to celebrate Flag Day as a state holiday. New York State statutes designate the second Sunday in June as Flag Day. How come New York can't be on par with the rest of us? I mean, come on, why do they always got to be different and stand out? Like, we're gonna have our own Flag Day. Or June 14th doesn't work for us.
Hmm.
So, do you know why it's June 14th? Why we have it on June 14th, Flag Day? Anyone?
Nope.
It commemorates the adoption of the flag of the United States on June 14th, 1777, by resolution of the Second Continental Congress. So, it's that's when we
Nice.
officially adopted our flag. Yeah. So, what do you guys know about flag code? Should we start? Anyone want to say anything about flag code, about the treatment of the flags? I know that's so not even looked at anymore. It's kind of a shame that people don't look at that and don't even pay attention to flag code. I got some rants about that, but I'll let you guys go.
Did you post the link so that it's anybody that's watching can read along?
Oh, I was
could
just
shoot it
reading
for-
off of I was just reading about Flag Day right off Wikipedia, but yeah, I'll throw that link out there. There it is on the internal, there it is on the gun channel, and on the YouTubes.
Well, that guy is professional.
So that's all about Flag Day on Wikipedia. And granted, you got to look at Wikipedia with a grain of salt on a lot of things, but usually, for the most part, things like this have been fact checked by other people enough that it's usually pretty accurate when it comes to stuff like this.
Stuff like what? I didn't.
Oh, I was just talking about the links I posted for Flag Day back to Wikipedia. So Wikipedia is really hit and miss on a lot of the stuff, the info that they're given on Wikipedia. It's not always factual. But on something like Flag Day, that's usually been looked at by so many people. If there was mistakes, that it's usually been corrected. On something this large, it's usually the more minute things that can have a lot of discrepancies or just blatantly false information. But on something larger like Flag Day, usually that's been looked at by enough people that any kind of discrepancies or blatant mistruths have been fixed.
I wish more people would look up flag etiquette.
Now, flag etiquette, is that different than flag code?
No, it's the same thing.
Same thing, okay. So let's see, United States.
I think there is a little bit of difference between etiquette and code. I mean, code lists, the basic, rules for everything, but etiquette, I think, can expand on that, to include respect, because I mean, you can have rules that say you should respect something or whatever, but I think flag etiquette can encompass a little bit more, but I might be mistaken. So hopefully I'm evoking G to pop in here. I know his ears are burning somewhere.
So can everyone see my screen here?
Yes.
So this is the flag of the United States of America. This website is dedicated to the flag of the United States of America, www.usflag.org. So what is the U.S. Code about the U.S. flag? Where to purchase a copy of the U.S. Code, United States Code, Title 36, Chapter 10. So let's see, the subject covered by the 50 titles of the U.S. Code are President, Food, Drugs, so Flag Code, right here. See, previous to Flag Day, June 14, 1923, there were no federal or state regulations governing the display of the United States flag. It was on this date that the National Flag Code was adopted by the National Flag Conference, which was attended by representatives of the Army and Navy, which had evolved their own procedures, and some 66 other national groups. This purpose of providing guidance based on the Army and Navy procedures relating to display and associated questions about the U.S. flag was adopted by all organizations in attendance. A few minor changes were made a year later during Flag Day 1924 conference. It was not until June 22nd, 1942 that Congress passed a joint resolution which was amended on December 22nd, 1942 to become public law. The second Congress second session exact rules for this use and display of the flag, as well as associated sections of conduct during playing of the national anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance of the flag and the manner of delivery were included. Let's see here. This code is the guide for all handling and display of the Stars and Stripes. It does not impose penalties for misuse of the United States flag. That is left to the states and to the federal government for the District of Columbia. Each state has its own flag law. Criminal penalties for certain acts of desecration to the flag were contained in Title 18 of the United States Code prior to 1989. The Supreme Court decision in Texas versus Johnson, June 21st, 1989, held the statute unconstitutional. This statute was amended when the Flag Protection Act of 1989, October 28th, imposed a fine and up to 1 year in prison for knowingly mutilating, defacing, physically defiling, maintaining the floor, or trampling upon any flag of the United States. The Flag Protection Act of 1989 was struck down by the Supreme Court decision, United States versus Eichmann, decided on June 11th, 1990. So for a while there, we actually had some penalties for, at least in Texas, we had some penalties for abusing our flag. What do you guys think about that? Let's stop and let's talk about that point on flag burning and trampling the flag, seeing people like to do that kind of stuff. I know it pisses us all off in this room, but would this have been a good thing if the Supreme Court would have upheld this and other states would have followed along? Would that be a good thing, or do you think that it should be allowed to desecrate our flag?
Part of being an American and the whole freedom thing is being able to piss on the flag if you want to. That doesn't mean that some patriots might not stomp your fucking ass into the ground, but
I love you, Tony.
Yeah, it's
That's
basically
what I was
you have the right to do it, but you also have to pay the consequences if that does offend somebody, and then they have to pay the consequences of beating you up or whatever. But I personally, I would never do anything that disrespects the flag. But that's why we fight, is so that morons can exist.
So here we get into the. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was. If I keep going, I'll get upset, and I like to be calm.
So I'm not going to get into every single flag code here. What are some of the main points that you guys want to touch upon that you see for disrespect to the flag, or people, like common things that you guys see people doing that are against flag code?
the most common thing I see is people hanging it and not taking it down at night and not being lit up, or people who have one that's just torn to shreds.
Yeah, I would add on there as well, wearing, or displaying obviously in the wrong spot, or letting it touch the ground, or there's a lot. I don't know how detailed you want to go.
Well, just whatever you see people doing. I mean, if you see a common thing that you see people doing that go against flag code, let's talk about that, because someone might be listening and they're like, oh my gosh, I do the same thing. I didn't know that was disrespectful to our flag, and then they can take that upon themselves to change that, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if it gets against flag code or not, but it's something I don't really like very much is when they take the flag and like kind of ball it up and lay it on a table, then throw a bunch of guns and other stuff on there and take pictures of it like that. Not a big fan of that. Don't know if it gets against flag code or not, but I'm not a fan of it.
I will even add on to that more, or half naked women using it, like draping the flag over themselves and taking pictures to get attention.
Well, it's absolutely against flag code to wear the flag.
Oh yes, most definitely.
And that doesn't mean that you can't wear the image of the flags. That's what people get a lot of confused ideas on. If you got a shirt that was made to look like the flag, that's fine. If you take the flag and make a shirt out of it, that's not.
Yeah.
Or just to drape it over your person, or to lay it on a table to put your guns and ammo on to take pictures with and stuff like that. That's very disrespectful, and those are against flag code.
And I don't like it where they drape it over, like you have your yard fence or something, and it was, it's so cool. I just drape it over the side of it, and it's just hanging there. I don't like that.
Or hanging it on a wall and having it facing the wrong direction.
I'll tell you, if you people that are listening to this think about this, the flag is the sign of freedom, and it should fly freely. Shouldn't be nailed to damn wall.
Yeah, I don't like it when people staple them to the walls and shit. It's different if it's a wooden flag, but if it's an actual flag, it needs to be flown.
I don't care how hot you are. I don't want to see a flag draped over your naked body.
Yep. And I've called them out for that before. I've lost followers for calling that out before. And that's a thing I commonly see, is whether you want to call them, gun bunnies, or just, these social media influencers, these beautiful women out there. And every year on 4th of July, I'll be damned that is such a popular thing. Sometimes it looks like they're using it as a damn picnic blanket and laying on it half naked, right? Or they have it wrapped around their body, and they try and be like, oh, I'm like trying to promote this or whatnot. I'm like, man, that's so disrespectful. And a lot of people don't like to hear that when they're when they're blatantly disrespecting the flag, but they're just not aware of it. And once you make them aware of it, they might argue with you and contradict you and even unfollow you. But the next year on the 4th of July, do I see them making the same type of posts? I do not. So that little seed I dropped in there, I think, did something, calling them out on that. And they went and did their own research, and then found out, man, a whole bunch of people don't like this, and it's against flag code, and it's disrespectful. They do their own research, trying to contradict my argument, and then they end up coming to the same conclusion, like, you know what, maybe I shouldn't do this. And so just don't be afraid to make that comment on your book faces and your Instagrams, that when you see someone doing that, don't be afraid to call them out on that, and in such a way that they go do the research themselves. And I think they'll inevitably come to the same conclusion, like, oh, maybe that isn't a good thing to do.
I'll tell you, when I worked for the government back in probably 1990 is when it started. They started having us raise and lower the flag in front of the Social Security building. And the magistrate of the courts gave us a handbook on how to do it properly. And before that, I never really gave a heck of a lot of thought to the flag. I mean, where's the flag? There it is. After that, and after doing it for a couple years, I had total respect for the flag and the whole pomp and circumstance that goes with.
That is one thing that is thrown up. A lot of times, people use it as a prop, like you said, in a photo or something like that. I mean, if it's displayed and it's flown correctly, and it's in a photo, that's great. It's just, using it as a tablecloth or it's stacked over in the corner or something like that. Obviously that's wrong. And that's one of the things that, when I was in school, we had to do the Pledge of Allegiance and all that stuff. That was just how it went. And I know that there was many years that they stopped that, as far as, kids actually, learning about the flag and, not the Betsy Ross thing, but just, having some kind of respect, even though, you should know that at home, You know, that's where the kids should learn that. I know when my daughter was in, I want to say she was in kindergarten or first grade. They actually went to the big board meeting, and you know, her whole little group there said the Pledge of Allegiance before the opening of the, you know, the meeting or something like that. You know, so they do have that. But I remember when I was a kid, I actually would get out, you know, 10 minutes early out of class so that there was a couple of us that could go out and actually take down the flag. And that was part of, you know, the kids actually learn that kind of stuff as kids. And obviously that would help.
So
Did,
the most,
oh, sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt. Did anybody mention the flying the flag below other flags? You know, like I've got a couple customers that are from Canada, and they fly the Canadian flag in their yard, but the American flag is hoisted well above it. And
like it should be.
that's the one thing that I really have a major problem with. If you're doing it, especially in this country, the American flag flies above all other flags.
Even in other countries on embassy soil, the American flag will be on top. If you look,
Definitely. There was that veteran that cut down that flag. I'm sure the video's out there. People have seen it, where he went and he basically cut the flag down and said, you know, you're not getting this back until you know, because he had it, you know, the store owner or something had some other country's flag above it, you know, which was, I mean, that's kind of cool, I guess. But
so I'll go off on maybe one of my rants here. So one of the most common things I see is lighting of the flag. So the flag is supposed to be lit from the ground. There's even a flag code about the cap on top of the pole being a gold globe and not some eagle-looking thing or, you know, some weird thing, or being a light on top of the pole where it's lit from above. That's against flag code. And if you go to your local big box hardware stores, like your Lowe's and Home Depots, you'll see one of the most common flagpole kits they have a solar powered light that sits on top of the pole that illuminates the flag from above. Totally against flag code. Then wouldn't you know it, you read the side of the box, made in China or made in the Philippines. And you know, so the people that are making these kits, you know, you go to Home Depot and you're like, oh, a flagpole, and yeah, I'm going to have a flag in my yard, and you just might not realize that these people don't care about our flag code. They don't care. They've never looked into it. They're just trying to sell you something. And so that's a really common thing I've seen is lighted flagpoles that are lit from above instead of using a spotlight and lit from the ground like it should be. So that's like a really, really common thing. And then to go along with that is just people buying flags that are made in other countries, not even made in America. When we have so many companies in America, that's what they do, is make American made flags. So and I don't believe that's part of flag code as far as the flag being made in the USA, but that's just something I think should just be an obvious thing. If you're going to fly an American flag, it could at least maybe be made in the United States of America.
What is flag code for disposing of a flag? Like when you got a flag that's tattered and torn and it needs to be replaced, how will you properly dispose of an American flag?
Burn it or bury it.
yeah, the easiest way, especially if you don't know what you're doing, is to take it to your local VFW, American Legion, you know, even
Boy Scouts of America.
Boy Scouts. Yeah, they probably still know how to do it, but I definitely take them there, especially if you don't know, you know, how to take them apart, and you know, because everything's got to come apart before you burn it. You don't just throw it in the fire. There is a ceremony and a process, I believe.
And it's supposed to be folded properly, right? And before that happens, and yeah, there is a whole ceremony. The thing about the Boy Scouts, I would recommend the Boy Scouts of America, is because you could actually help some kids out earn a merit badge with that.
That's
so
true.
I'd recommend the Boy Scouts of America just because you're also going to help some kid out earn his merit badge, and they'll even have
I was about to say that.
yeah. So I recommend the Boy Scouts of America, but if you don't have one by you, I mean, yeah, the VFW or really any I'm pretty sure like even our National Guard base here was doing that. That you could go take your flag to the National Guard base, and that they would do it. I'm sure if you
I
call.
have two to dispose of this year. And what I do is at our local drag strip, the color guard from the Air Force, when they're there, I bring my flags to them.
Another thing that bothers me is tattered and like sun-faded flags that just look
Yes.
like absolute crap, especially the ones that keep them, they're lit up and they're out there 24 hours a day or whatnot. And they just get so tattered and sun-faded, and you can't even tell that it was really a red and a blue. It looks more like pink and purple now, and they're just, so sun-faded. And I know the Boy Scouts of America used to, at least, I'm not sure if they still do, if they saw a flag like that hanging in your yard, they would come knock on your door, offer to give you a brand new flag and erect it and everything for you. And that was something that they used to do. I don't know if they still do that, but that was a good service that they at least used to do. They used to keep an eye out for that. But I see flags all the time that are just so sun-faded and beat down and literally tattered. It's a shame. And really flags are not that much money, and all weather flags not that much money.
I used to
Yeah,
stop
I do
at
that with my
bus-
neighbors. I have two neighbors. That's where the two flags came from. I bought them new flags this year, so I have to get rid of the old ones.
I was just going to say, I one of the old companies I used to work for, I'd be out of town or something and come back, and it's one of those things where, it's flown every day, regardless of weather, with just some spotlights on it. And these are enormous flags. They're not, they're the business size flags. They're, 6 feet by 10 or whatever they are. They're the huge ones. And they'll just be shredded, and people walk right by it. I mean, it's like right in the front of the building or something, and nobody even looks up. And I've threatened to take it down and leave it down, that kind of thing. So if you do see something, mention it to them, because a lot of people don't look up. They could care less. It doesn't affect their espresso coffee and their donut in the morning, or they're doing whatever. Stop in and say something at the secretary thing or whatever. There's a lot of people, like I said, they don't notice it or something.
There's this terrible eyesore in the neighborhood that the shop I work out of has. You go down the row of houses, and every single house has got a flag, either hanging from the flagpole or hanging from the house. And then there's this one guy who's got a flag hanging from his porch, and he's got it hanging upside down. And I'm tempted to go knock on his door and ask him what kind of distress he's in. But, I really don't want to cause too much trouble.
Maybe an anonymous note left on the windshield wiper of his car, or up on his door in his mailbox.
Well, I know what he's doing. He's probably a radical leftist, and has probably got some reason to blame Donald Trump and conservatives for the country being in distress. That's why he's hanging it upside down. But what he's really just doing is being a jerk.
And you don't want to confront him because you'll end up in jail.
And see, that's kind of the dilemma, though, because regardless of how stupid he is and he looks, that is his right. I hate it. I don't like people burning anything. I don't like any of that kind of stuff. But what do you do?
So David mentioned that people like just balling up the flag and whatnot, and just whether they put it out just on the 4th of July and things like that, and then it just gets balled up and put into a drawer. So how to fold the flag isn't that hard. So can you guys see my screen right now?
Yeah.
So how to fold the flag, step 1. To properly fold the flag, begin by holding it waist high with another person so that its surface is parallel to the ground. Step 2. Fold the lower half of the stripe section lengthwise over the field of stars, holding the bottom and top edges securely. Step 3. Fold the flag again lengthwise with the blue field on the outside. So you're folding it twice lengthwise. Step 4. Make a triangular fold by bringing the striped corner of the folded edge to meet the open edge of the flag. I hope everyone can see that. Step 5, turn the outer end point inward parallel to the open edge to form a second triangle. The triangular folding is continued until the entire length of the flag is folded in this manner. Step 7, when the flag is completely folded, only a triangular blue field of stars should be visible. So it's really easy to tell if you've done it right. If it ends up looking like this picture right here, exactly like this picture, you've done it right with just these 4 stars showing. And I mean, that's it's really a lot easier than people think. It doesn't take that long either. It's really not. I mean, it's really 7 steps here, but it really only takes a minute to do it right.
Does
And
that also?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, does that also tell the reason why? It should be listed somewhere around there.
Let's see
There's
here.
reasons why it's folded that way, and no other flag is folded that way. Now, if you have a state flag or a Marine Corps flag, you don't fold it the same way.
If you guys have a couple minutes, I will definitely read this because I think it is important.
Thank you.
The flag folding ceremony described by the uniformed services is a dramatic and uplifting way to honor the flag on special days like Memorial Day or Veterans Day, and is sometimes used as retirement ceremonies. Here is a typical sequence of the reading. Let's see, begin reading as honor guard or flag detail is coming forward. The flag folding ceremony represents the same religious principles on which our country was originally founded. The portion of the flag denoting honor is the canton of blue containing the stars representing the states our veterans served in uniform. The canton field of blue dresses from left to right and is inverted when draped as a pall on a casket of a veteran who has served our country in uniform. In the armed forces of the United States, at the ceremony of retreat, the flag is lowered, folded in a triangle fold, and kept under watch throughout the night as a tribute to our nation's honored dead. The next morning it is brought out and, at the ceremony of Reveille, run aloft as a symbol of our belief in the resurrection of the body. Then it says, wait for the honor guard or flag detail to unravel and fold the flag onto a quarter fold. Resume reading when the honor guard is standing ready. The first fold of our flag is a symbol of life. The second fold is a symbol of our belief in the eternal life. The third fold is made to honor and remembrance of the veteran departing our ranks who gave a portion of life for the defense of our country to attain a peace throughout the world. The fourth fold represents our weaker nature, for as American citizens trusting in God, it is to Him we turn in times of peace as well as in times of war for His divine guidance. The fifth fold is a tribute to our country, for in the words of Stephen Decatur, our country, in dealing with other countries, may she always be right. But it is still our country, right or wrong. The sixth fold is where our hearts lie. It is with our heart that we pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The seventh fold is a tribute to our armed forces, for it is through the armed forces that we protect our country and our flag against all her enemies, whether they be found within or without the boundaries of our republic. The eighth fold is a tribute to the one who entered into the valley of the shadow of death, that we might see the light of day, and to honor Mother, for whom it flies on Mother's Day. The ninth fold is a tribute to womanhood, for it has been through their faith, love, loyalty, and devotion that the character of the men and women who have made this country great have been molded. The 10th fold is a tribute to Father, for he too has given his sons and daughters for the defense of our country since they were first born. The 11th fold, in the eyes of a Hebrew citizen, represents the lower portion of the seal of King David and King Solomon, and glorifies in their eyes the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The 12th fold in the eyes of a Christian citizen represents an emblem of eternity and glorifies in their eyes God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. When the flag is completely folded, the stars are uppermost, reminding us of our nation's motto, "In God we trust." Wait for the honor guard or flag detail to inspect the flag. After the inspection, resume reading. After the flag is completely folded and tucked in, it takes on the appearance of a cocked hat, ever reminding us of the soldiers who served under General George Washington and the sailors and Marines who served under Captain John Paul Jones, who were followed by their comrades and shipmates in the armed forces of the United States, preserving for us the rights, privileges, and freedoms we enjoy today. So if you guys have never heard that before, that was me butchering that pretty bad, but did my best. But that is why, that's what the every fold, and that's what the flag folding ceremony means.
You did a great job.
I had never heard that before.
I've actually heard that whole ceremony and read out like that too, but by much better men than I.
And you probably won't hear that around now. They I don't know if they actually still do that. You know, the full reading like that. Which I don't know.
Heard the full reading like that on Memorial Day.
Okay. Because
So,
I know that some retirement things they've started, you know, pansying out and not, you know, because it might offend somebody or some kind of nonsense. So
Then
it's good if they do.
Something else that people should know, but may not, is if you're handling your flag and it touches the ground, it's to be destroyed.
So one thing, I'll do one more thing I've seen against flag code, and I saw it this year, unfortunately, at our local cemetery, is that on a day like Memorial Day, the American flag is flown at half-mast from sunrise until noon. And at noon, it's supposed to be raised to the top of the flagpole to honor those who gave all. And unfortunately, it came around to about 3 p.m. time, and no one had gone out there to raise the flag. And that was very disheartening. And I see that a lot, the flags flying half-mast basically all day on Memorial Day. And go ahead, Patriot.
I was just going to say, and you have to remember, if you are flying it at half mast, that before you take it down, it has to be to full mast. You raise it all the way to the top and then down. If it's at a situation where it's, you know, you have to take it down at that time before. So you do have to raise it all the way up. And there is differences, obviously, with the poles that are on, you know, your front porch and stuff. There are rules for each type of, you know, how you fly it. You know, obviously with a vertical mast or pole or whatever, you know, you have to raise it to the top, then lower it to half mast. So,
and it took a Navy veteran to come out there and raise that flag, and I watched him do it in just utter awe, and he made sure to go give someone a piece of his mind afterwards and let them know, because not everyone knows, and unless you let them know these things, I guess it might be pretty easy to overlook it, which is a shame. But yes, please, if you are honoring on Memorial Day and you're flying your flag at half mast, please at noon sharp, someone should be there to raise it. That is how the raising of the flag is, to honor of the people who've been in battle and the heroes of our nation. That's why we raise it. That's why we raise it at noon sharp.
I don't think I knew that either.
there is a thing too. If you go to if you go to your state's government, .gov, whatever site, normally you can sign up for alerts as far as when they call that, you know, somebody in the Senate died or some kind of thing, whenever they have alerts to raise to fly the flag at half mast or whatever. And so you can find that. And sometimes, I know with Michigan, I think it's just kind of a cookie cutter email that you get. It does give you some kind of tidbit towards the bottom that says, you know, this is only until noon. And then it does, you know, it will say some things like that. So just as a reminder, you know, you can do that. And then they'll also email you. Normally, Michigan emails you the day of or something. So it's kind of, I don't know. At least it's better than nothing, I guess. But
What's your guys' most memorable flag experience? I mean, do you guys have anything that stands out when you maybe first became aware as a child that the flag was important? Was it at a funeral of a family member who was a serviceman when you maybe first saw the flag folded and was really told about the importance of the flag? But I'm just curious, how did you guys come about? When did you guys really realize the importance of the American flag?
I already said it was when I was working and I got elected or selected to do the raising and lowering ceremony because we were there. Before doing that, I never really gave it a hell of a lot of thought, to be honest with you.
I grew up with the Pledge of Allegiance, and even my earliest memories of the Pledge of Allegiance, I really don't think I comprehended what the flag meant. And it wasn't until one of my uncles passed away when I was a little kid, and he was a veteran. And I watched the flag folding ceremony, and I watched his coffin come out draped in the flag, and I think that's when it really hit home to me, like, oh hey, this has some importance. It's not just something that waves, that looks pretty. It just that there's actually a meaning behind that. I think that's when I first became aware. It wasn't until I actually went to a funeral. I was probably maybe, I don't know, 8 years old, somewhere right around there. And I think that's when it really started to hit home, like, oh, hey, this is something important. I don't think I ever gave it much thought before then whatsoever.
yeah, when I was a kid, my grandfather, flew the flag every day, would raise it, lower it, the whole bit. And so I always thought, obviously respecting a grandpa, you kind of get into it a little bit, but, the same thing in school, you say the Pledge of Allegiance and stuff. Up until, I don't know. I mean, my family themselves, my parents and stuff, they never, flew a flag. They never had a flagpole and stuff. So it wasn't really around besides, my grandfather. And he passed when I was like 4 or so. So it wasn't something that I spent a lot of time with. But so the first one was after graduation from boot camp in the Marine Corps. That first reveille. After that, it really hits home. I mean, yeah, it does before, and you can see it and stuff. But it's different after graduation, where you're actually you mean something now. And so that was probably the first time it really hit home as serious as it was. I mean, I always respected it. I wasn't in Boy Scouts, so I didn't really learn besides the stuff that they throw at you at public schools and stuff. But up until actually a couple weeks ago, I was at a family reunion, and I found out that my grandfather that raised and lowered the flag every day was a first generation American. So he actually came over from Canada. So it was, I see how important it is or was to him, but I only know that now. As a kid, nobody mentioned anything like that, but that was really something interesting that's just happened in the last couple of weeks.
David, do you have any personal stories about the flag or anything you would like to share? You became aware of how important it was?
Oh, when I was younger, a bunch of my uncles Like it was probably in the mid '80s, I guess. The whole we're going to burn the flag because we hate the country or whatever was going on, and a bunch of my uncles started putting together the try and burn this one shirt. And that's when I first started paying attention to what was going on, and then just other things throughout. Like just, once I started paying attention, I started noticing more stuff about it. But that would probably be the part where I started really paying attention to the flag and how people treat it was back when I was a younger kid.
A positive note on today society is that the kids in the school here still say the pledge every day. I went to school and sat with my granddaughter here a couple months back, and everybody in the school stood up, hand over heart, pledged allegiance to the flag.
And that is very area and school dependent. So they do that in elementary schools here, but not in all the junior highs or high schools, which is unfortunate. But as far as I know, all the elementary schools still practice that.
I don't think people realize what the pledge is. They think that they're pledging to that, vinyl thing flapping in the sky with color on it. And that couldn't be any more further from the truth. And I think if you educate people that Pledge of Allegiance is talking about the kid you're standing right next to, and the teacher in the front of the room, and the kid that you're sitting across the hallway from, and the kid that's having recess right now, or the guy who's working the construction site or the accountant. It's the pledge that we are one. One way or the other, we're going to have this nation is going to be what we're going to defend and we're going to stand up for, whether we disagree, whether we agree, whether we like each other or not. If somebody comes knocking on this door, you're going to have to mess with all of us. But a lot of people think that it's just pledging allegiance to some flag.
Well, it says right in it, to the republic in which it stands.
Yeah. Isn't that, I don't know Latin, but what is that? E pluribus unum, out of many come one or something?
Yes.
That is something that I think a lot of people might not know is, when you're immigrating, and you go through the courses, to become a citizen and stuff. I think they actually have a lot of things that they have to learn, that might not be required of somebody that was born here, as far as respecting the flag and what it means and all that kind of stuff. I'm not sure. Obviously I don't know, but that's probably something to ask, like the Crazy Scotsman. I think he's been going through that process. So if you know anybody, that might be something interesting to find out what they're required to learn and ask, and if those kind of questions, if you could go to the, your everyday high schooler and ask and see if they're doing the same thing.
Well, that's key, is what you're saying there too, Patriot, because it's become everyday, regular, and acceptable and a part of the norm to disrespect the flag and be ashamed of the United States. But instead of that, which is fine, if this is a free country, if you want to talk bad about America and you want to talk bad about our flag and our soldiers, go ahead, do that. You have the right to do that. But the problem is they made it almost illegal to be proud of your flag and be proud of your soldiers and be proud of the person that lives next door to you or across the state from you or across the whole country from you. It's well acceptable to say negative things, but when you want to stand up and say some positive stuff, that's no longer acceptable. Or it's, they're trying to make it unacceptable, but they're not going to get it out of my mouth.
I think that's what's so nice about today. It's about the flag, and it's not, everything else that goes with it. More of, not like 4th of July where it's, a lot of extra things with it, but, it does put a focus back on the flag and kind of, I don't know,
So I have some. I don't think anyone here was born before 1954. Correct, Tony?
Yeah.
So, did you guys know that before 1954 that the words "under God" were not in the original Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, I did.
That was added by Eisenhower because of communist threats at the times. So we added in the "under God," creating a 31-word Pledge of Allegiance. So it used to read, "I pledge allegiance." The original was, "I pledge allegiance to my flag and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all." And then in 1923, the words, "the flag of the United States of America" were added. "I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all." And then in 1954, we added the words "under God." So "I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all." That is the current version we know today. On another little side note is after you, before World War II, when you would recite the Pledge of Allegiance, you used to stick your arm straight out towards the flag, palm down. And that was too close to the Nazi salute, so that got changed because we didn't want to be associated with that. But that used to be a thing.
Parts of the world, and like you just said, many parts of the world stopped doing that because of the Nazi influence.
That was a Roman thing, I think. Roman salute.
I think it was the
Yeah.
Roman salute where that started. Little history today on the early watch about the Pledge of Allegiance and flag code, and so we hoped we might have helped at least one person out with that today.
I have a quick question about your feelings of the little flags. The ones that are not sewn together and stuff, but they're in the image of the flag, and they're on little sticks, and they're for parades, or people put them in, I don't know, flower pots, that kind of thing.
They are just that, an image of the flag. So I have no problem with them.
They're commonly used on Memorial Day here to decorate soldiers' graves, and with flowers and flags. That's a very, very common thing here.
Yeah.
I really don't have an issue with those whatsoever, as long as they are disposed of properly and they're treated with the same respect.
I have a cigarette lighter here with the image of the flag on it. That's why I bought it.
One thing I've heard people bring up is, like, let's say you guys are all aware if I say the thin blue line flag, correct?
Yes.
So I've heard some people make the argument that the thin blue line flag is disgrace because it's altering the American flag. And I've made the argument, no, it's they use the American flag as a template, but it's no longer the American flag. It's the thin blue line flag. And what do you guys feel about the thin blue line flag? Is that something that is maybe against flag code? Is that a disgrace? Should they be using the likeness of the image of the American flag? Because they're usually black, white, and blue, right? And they look very similar to the American flag. But I've heard that I've heard the argument made that the thin blue line flag should not be a thing.
Well, they do that also in red and green, for the thin red line for the firefighters and the green for military. I don't know. I've never seen it. It's only came out. I mean, I know what they look like. It's just a stripe that goes across the center of it.
Yeah, it's basically just a white and black flag with a blue stripe right across the middle. And it still has 50 stars, looks very similar to an American flag. And I've heard a lot of people make that argument. I'm not sure if they're just anti-police, the people who are making this argument, or if that's just a real thing that people are concerned about. But I've heard people say it's a a desecration on the American flag, that it goes against flag code. I've heard all sorts of arguments that it should not be a thing, and I make the argument that it may be based on the American flag, but it's not. It's no longer the American flag. It's the thin blue line flag. It's a different flag, and that was really common for countries forever to base flags off of their previous country or a country that they spawned off of. And so there are a lot of similar looking flags, but no one says that, oh, it's just a copy and a desecration from one to the next. Because even our American flag has evolved every time there's a new state's been added. Has our flag not changed?
There's plenty of other examples of blatant disrespect for our flag out here than just that.
Yeah,
I really don't care about that one way or the other.
I think the biggest one is where it is, red, white, and blue. It is the correct colors. It looks like an American flag, and in the center of it, they throw an eagle, or they throw a NASCAR symbol, or they throw, some kind of, advertisement or some kind of something on that. Now that is horrendous. I do not like that. Now, you can get other flags. I can't think of anything. The only thing that's coming up is like a Confederate flag that has an image on the middle of it. Well, that's not a country flag, or whatever. It's not something representing our country. If you want to buy Doc Marten shoes that have the Jack flag on it, that's fine. That's whatever. But that's not an American. I don't know why I threw that in there, but yeah, you've seen those flags at the swap meet, and it looks like an American flag. You buy it, you get it home, you open it up, and it's like, what the hell is this? There's some bird in the middle of it, or some kind of other thing thrown on top of it, and that's disgraceful, I think. Even though it was probably made that way, it was designed that way, and it wasn't ever an original flag before. I don't like that.
Well, I don't like that either, because then it's advertising on the flag, and that's totally against flag code.
Yeah.
And flag code specifically states about not altering the image of it or putting other symbols on top of it, right, that don't belong there.
Yeah.
I know flag code specifically talks about that.
I have got to bail, guys.
Yes, sir, Tony. Thank you for joining us today. There will be a lobby posted over on Gun Channels.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day. If I don't talk to you again.
See you, Tony.
Hello, Dano.
Hello.
Thanks for joining.
Yep.
We were just talking about Flag Day and flag code and the Pledge of Allegiance, and we were just talking about subjects like that. Do you have any memorable experience with the flag, or when did the real importance and meaning of the flag hit home with you, when you really started paying attention or really learned that it was something important, more than just a piece of fabric on a pole?
Well, I realized it was something very important, although I didn't necessarily understand the deeper meanings of it at the time, when I was probably in third grade. Because we every day we got up and did the Pledge of Allegiance, but I was finally getting to the point old enough that I realized, this is not just saying I will be a good person, I will not do bad things. It was more than that. It was something greater than ourselves. I didn't necessarily have the particulars, but I knew it was something that was greater than just me as an individual or my class or my school.
Do they still do the Pledge of Allegiance, as far as you're aware, in your local schools, Dana?
I think so. But I live in a rural school district, so things are different.
Yes, they are. Things are different all over. We are a large country, and we're very diverse, and so there is a lot of differences. I'm surprised that sometimes just driving a very short distance, how different things can be. from where I live.
You know, I think that, you know, stating the obvious for a moment, the one thing that regardless of where you live in the United States, that there's always a major, I'll call it a significant difference, is city versus rural, or urban versus rural. And that, you know, rural Idaho may be different than rural Illinois, but it has a lot more in common with each other than it does to metropolitan Illinois, i.e. Chicago, or was it Boise? Is that their capital?
Yes.
Than that small town might have with Boise.
I would agree with that.
Small towns, you learn that, you know, you really have to, at least most people realize that, you know, you have to respect one another and depend on one another, because you're going to see that same person semi-regularly if they're working in town, as an example. It's not like in an urban area where you know there's a lot of turnover and the person will be gone, whatever. So if you disrespect them or whatever, it really doesn't matter, because people don't seem to have a consideration of other people, because there's no consequences to their behavior. Like I hear, as an example, New York City. We've all heard about, it's a very rude city to live in. People yell at each other all the time, and that's the only example I'm using, is you know, yelling at each other. Small towns, we don't yell at each other ever, unless there's something serious that needs 911. Like I hear examples all the time coming out of New York City. You know, people driving by in cars yelling at pedestrians. And I'm not referring to catcalls.
And you do drive around a lot of metropolitan areas, so you're probably much more aware of that than I am. I mean, so yeah. So I appreciate that insight. I don't really get to experience that very much, and get to see the big differences from a lot of big cities for maybe more than a day or two sometimes, and that's about it.
But you are right. You know, if I compare, you know, rural, at least rural northern Illinois with the parts that I've been in, which is, you know, I haven't traveled extensively, but Kentucky, Tennessee, you know, the other side of that Mason-Dixon line, I find that people tend to generally, always exceptions, be more friendly, as long as you understand that when you're in Rome, you do as the Romans. And in this case, when you're in Kentucky or Tennessee, this is their home, their rules, sort of a thing, their customs, and you need to respect that.
How can we help with that?
I've been treated very warmly.
I see that being an issue of people not paying attention to that and not even willing to consider it. Very selfish people.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean,
that's a thing.
I think of there's a transition, and I'm going to use one city as an example, Austin, Texas, where a lot of people have moved from out of state to that city, bringing with them their beliefs, but not necessarily respecting or having the same respect of local culturals, beliefs and practices, and thus creating a divide within the state between Austin and other parts of the state. And I mean, just one simple aspect of that is Austin is extremely liberal. The rest of the state, not so much. And there are a couple other cities in there. It's not just Austin, but
let's see here. We are at the top of the second hour. We usually try and keep this about 2 hours. I will be throwing up a lobby over on gunchannels.com, open to everyone. We hope that you can attend. Firearm 2A PG-13 chat. Feel free to jump over there. Talk about guns, firearms, or just whatever you want to. Character and respect is highly advised. Let's see. I guess let's go through our shout out. So Patriot, what do you have coming up? Do you have any challenges coming up for us or anything going on?
I'm working on a couple things, but I just dropped a video just a few minutes ago because it is Free Patch Friday, and so I dropped that. I did take some time off, but I am getting back into the mix again, I guess. So it's kind of up in the air, but I'm always willing and able to answer questions. So if anybody has any ideas or questions that they want to ask me, or my perspective on things, just find one of the videos and drop a comment in, or you can email me at patriotinthedark@gmail.com. And actually, there is something new. I did get patches, and I have my logo stickers and stuff. So eventually I'm going to figure out how to get them out to the masses. If anyone wants that, you can email me as well. So that's it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining. And I did post a Patreon link to his newest video out there on the YouTube side and on the Gun Channel side. So definitely look what Patriot's doing over there. Excellent, excellent videos. I mean, I have to say, I really can't say it in a way, I think, where where someone would understand just how good of quality of videos you do. I was blown away by your recent gun leather holster video for your Colt. That I mean, just you do such a great job on your reviews. It's unbelievable. I really admire you, and I kind of want to copy you. I really do, because I just really like the way that how you did everything, from the way you describe everything to even your video quality is just on point. It really is. It's done really, really well. Very professional.
Well, thank you, and you can copy me because I wouldn't know anyway either way.
David, do you have anything coming up, sir?
No, I'm not really got anything coming up, but make sure you check out the Early Watch Reloading show coming on Saturdays. And if you get a chance to pet a little dog or play tug of war with a tennis ball, go for it. So just the end of the day, on a nice little happy note, we got my little buddy hanging out with me today and playing tennis ball with me.
And I will second that. You want to talk about something that'll lower your blood pressure and is good for your health? Yeah, play with the little dog. Yeah, play with the dog, period. Rub the belly, throw a ball. I mean, whether it's mentally, physically, it's all around good for you. Dano, what do you got? Do you have anything coming up, Dano? Any future projects or videos or any shout-outs?
I got nothing.
All right, let's see what's going on over on Gun Channels today. So we do have the Gun Channels open lobby that will be starting here in about 10 to 15 minutes. Links will be posted on Gun Channels. Everyone can join. If you need an email for that, feel free to let me know, and I'll add you to my email list to send links out. And let's see here, Gun Channels. So Gun Channels might be going through an update right now again, and there's been some updates recently the last couple mornings, if right around the time the early watch is getting over, if you haven't noticed that. So if you don't see the lobby posted right away, don't worry, it will be up. It will be posted over there. We just have to wait for the updates to get over with. The Gun Channels has been going through some updates recently. Some changes have been going on over there. So definitely look forward to that, though. So as soon as those updates are finished, it will be posted over on Gun Channels, that lobby. Let's see, Friday shows. Who does a Friday show tonight? I can't see the schedule right now because Gun Channels is going through the updates.
We have Budget Guns and Gear, which I believe tonight will be his first 11 p.m. show.
11 p.m. Eastern.
Because he had to change work schedules. If not, it's 7 p.m. Eastern, but I think tonight starts the... then we have the early bird chat with Gizzard Gary at 9 p.m. Eastern. And hopefully we'll have a daily gun show at midnight.
Oh, wait. Is tonight? Tonight's Friday, so it's
a foul territory. Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely. And then the daily gun show at 12 p.m. Eastern. So it looks like we got a nice little good full schedule going tonight. Let's see here. So I think that's it. Thank you everyone for tuning into the early watch on this awesome Flag Day. Please enjoy your weekends. Please be safe. Take a new person shooting. Take another CCW carry class. Get some training.
Happy Father's Day.
Yep. Happy Father's Day. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Tune in for the reloading chat tomorrow, starting at 7 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Eastern. That'll go from 9 a.m. Eastern to 9 a.m. Eastern to 3 p.m. Eastern. So for 6 hours, we'll be talking reloading. We will be at our reloading presses reloading. Everyone who wants to learn, think about getting into it, or who has a bunch of knowledge like Russ Carr and stuff, and you want to share that knowledge and help people out, everyone's welcome to come join into the lobby, participate in the chat, and share and learn a vast amount of knowledge from a bunch of great guys. So thank you, everyone. You guys have a great day.